What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. This is the Texans Better Talk Show. We just hit 500 subscribers, guys. I'm so thankful. That's really awesome to see, and I really appreciate all the support. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe for more daily Texans content. Got a good community here that we're building in a relatively new channel. But now that that's out of the way, let's talk about my biggest concern for the Houston Texans the free agent after this free agency. And it's not as simple as offensive line. Obviously, you've seen the thumbnail, you probably know where this is going to go. It's not as simple as that. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's get straight into this. Got a couple more graphics for you guys, but there's a clear problem here, and let's just get into it. Let's start with talking about the money first. That's the biggest thing for me, following the money. So simple pie chart. I went and took all of the money they spent this free agency and looked at how it was allocated. It's in millions, so around 47 million went to defense, around 64% of their total spending, which is more than special teams and offense combined. And they spent more on special teams than they did on offense. Now, a couple little caveats. I didn't get every player because there were a couple players that I couldn't find the contract deals for, but they probably signed very minimal contracts and they were pretty scattered around all three. Also, not taking into account like yearly basis, right? So this is just when they signed the contract, basically just the amount of money they were willing to give up, right? So defense completely, clears the floor in terms of where this organization spends money in free agency. This is not unique to this year free agency. Last year, they obviously spent a bunch of money on Danielle Hunter, that being their main signing, as well as Aziz Al-Shire. So you could make the argument that the Texans spend too much money on the defense. And I understand D'Amico's philosophy. I understand that he wants, the baddest mofos on the defensive line. But your defense is good at some point, right? I don't know if we need to be spending $47 million on defense compared to $12 million on offense. You have like 11 D linemen right now, and I know the goal is to get them to compete and yada, 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 but I mean, just, we could go through the defensive linemen. You guys can probably do that in your head. We have a lot of defensive linemen. Also, how many special team aces do we need? We signed like 2 special team aces, and I don't want to be doubtful because it sounds like that. I'm not trying to doubt their plan because I know they have a plan and they're like, maneuvering of money. I just think it's very interesting that they will continually spend money on defense and ignore some of the kind of glaring holes on the offensive side of the ball, which we'll talk about in a second. One other move I will mention is that they did free up $12 million in cap space by rearranging Christian Kirk's contract. Obviously, didn't take that into consideration for this graphic because he was a trade. So yeah, that's another kind of nugget I guess we could talk about. But moving on, let's talk about what they did do with the offensive line. My main qualm here is with the offense and with the offensive line. So let's start with Laken Tomlinson. Now with Laken Tomlinson, you'll notice I have a little graphic of Kenyon Green in the bottom left-hand corner. Kenyon Green had an overall grade of 38.6 in the 2024 season. Yeah, really, really bad numbers. Laken Tomlinson, his numbers aren't as bad as Kenyon Green's, which is somewhat good. Obviously, it's hard to beat how bad Kenyon Green was, and it really kind of highlights that, the Eagles are going to be starting with square zero with him, whereas we get a very good safety in CJ Gardner-Johnson, so love that trade. But one thing I will give credit where, I'll give credit where credit's due. And one thing I'll say about Laken Tomlinson is he's played every single game since 2017. He has been a tough dude who refuses to go out of games. He plays, he's a hard worker. He wants to play in games. He was also a former Pro Bowler. Now, he did play right next to Trent Williams, so that might have helped. And then I kind of have this other bullet point talking about Seattle's interior offensive line. Look, Seattle did not have a good interior offensive line, including Tomlinson. Like, he was not great. Obviously, you can see the grades right there for the Seahawks. But maybe, some of that kind of rubbed off on Tomlinson, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. Like, kind of maybe his play was diminished because of how bad, the people to his right were. So I don't know. That could be part of it. Also, he was a 28th overall pick in 2015. So I think we've kind of touched on everything we need to touch with Tomlinson. I don't know if you feel comfortable with him just walking into the left guard spot. I mean, you definitely shouldn't. And the Texans definitely don't either because they went ahead and also traded for Ed Ingram. Now, Ingram is a DeSoto, Texas native, so shout out to all the people from DeSoto. But he was benched the last 8 games of the 2024 season. And it might have been more. The Vikings originally signed a guy to compete for his spot. Ultimately, that guy got hurt. I don't know his name. I'm forgetting his name. And yeah, it caused Ingram to play for a majority of the season. And once the guy got healthy, pretty much instantaneously, they just took him away and they just threw in the other guy. So Ingram's play has not lived up to expectations. He was a second round pick, I believe, in 2022. And again, he's struggled pretty much all past 3 seasons, including his rookie season, obviously including, the 2024 season. His grades 54, so 100th overall, pass blocking a little lower, run blocking a little bit better. So I guess if I were to start touching on some positives with Ingram, it'd be the pass blocking. Obviously, he's got good, measurements and physicals and all that because he was drafted so high in the draft. He is an athletic guy. I believe he played at LSU. So, great program as well. He just really hasn't been able to figure it out with the Vikings in these past 3 seasons. And I think Nick Caserio saw him and said, you know what? There's a little bit of shine we can get from him. We can shine him up a little bit. We can make him a little bit better than he's been seeming, because he has not been getting it done for the Vikings. He does have a good amount of experience, though. That experience has just been dwindling down as the Vikings kind of go on and refuse to play him. And so what do I get at with this, with these two graphics? Well, if we pull up the Texans offensive line right now, this is what it looks like. And I do have Stroud looking emotionally distressed because of what this line looks like. And I don't mean to hate on it that much. But you've got Howard at left tackle. That's set in stone. That's what that's going to be right now. Probably have Patterson at center and Juice Scruggs at right guard. There is an argument to be made on whether Scruggs will play center and then Patterson play like left guard maybe. I don't know. I just feel like, this is what they've been doing towards the last part of the 2024 season, so they'll probably go back to that. Fisher playing that right tackle spot, which is where he's supposed to play. Then you've got Tomlinson and Ingram kind of competing for that left guard spot. I definitely think, Scruggs' job is not safe. I don't think Patterson's job is safe either. You could make them battle it out at the center position. But this is what the offensive line looks like right now. And so kind of circling back to how I started the video, we couldn't have put any more money into this offensive line. Like, I understand we made a couple of moves. We signed a couple of guys, traded for a couple of guys, got some receivers, but it just feels really, really underwhelming. And I kind of got to this conclusion because I was trying to figure out a reasoning for taking like a weapon in the first round. I definitely think it could happen. They could draft a receiver. They could draft a tight end, 100%. But then when you look at this offensive line, it's really, really hard to advocate for taking a receiver or a tight end in the first round. I just don't 100% see it happening. You've got a lot of the same guys that were on the team when it wasn't great when they were playing. I know Shaq Mason's not here, but when Scruggs was in, the line didn't look amazing for him either. And then you've got these two guys who are kind of unproven. I know one was a Pro Bowler, but his plays, declined since then. And the other guy has never been proven, never really fleshing out a role as a starter, hence why, you just traded for him in his 3rd year in the NFL. So, or I guess would be his 4th year, coming up is going to be his 4th year in the NFL. So that's my thought on this. I hope you draft a offensive line in the first round. Really kind of highlights the big hole they have after free agency. But let me know what you guys think. That's really all I have for this video. And again, thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, building a good community here for Texans fans or people who enjoy Texans content. So that's all I got for this video, guys. And be sure to comment what your thoughts are on this offensive line situation. And I will see y'all in the next one, man. Peace out.